Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a totally mind-bending investigation into one of the most mysterious and fragile things we possess, our own memory. We usually treat our memories like they're this perfect, objective truth, like a flawless archive of the past. But what if they aren't? What if our collective memories are actually drifting completely away from reality itself? Get ready, because we're going to challenge the very fabric of what you think you remember and look at the hard evidence of how our brains might actually be tricking us.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to actively test your own memory right now. When did Nelson Mandela die? Seriously, take a second. Try to picture the news coverage. Map out the timeline in your head. Do you remember the tragic news breaking while he was still locked away in prison?
Well, if you answered that he died in prison in the 1980s, you are absolutely not alone. There's a vast community, literally thousands of people, who share a vivid, super detailed memory of televised eulogies and funeral coverage from that exact decade. But here is the undeniable historical fact. Mandela was actually released from prison in 1990, he became the president of South Africa, and he passed away decades later in 2013. So how on earth can so many people clearly remember a major historical event that absolutely never happened?
This massive, mind-bending discrepancy is what we call the Mandela Effect. It's this wild phenomenon where a really large group of people share a vivid but entirely false memory. The term itself was actually coined back in 2009 by a paranormal researcher named Fiona Broom, right after she realized just how many individuals shared her exact same false recollection of Nelson Mandela's death. But, as you're going to see, this phenomenon definitely doesn't stop with just one historical figure. Section 1. The Evidence. Pop Culture False Memories.
Let's think back to your childhood. Do you remember those classic books about a family of bears? Did you spell it Berenstein with an E? Countless adults will swear up and down, with absolute certainty, that they grew up reading about the Berenstain Bears. They vividly remember that E. But the reality, which is documented in literally every single physical copy ever printed, is Berenstain. It's always been an A.
Or, hey, how about the wealthy mascot from the board game Monopoly? Picture him in your head. Do you remember him wearing a monocle? If you do, you share that exact memory with millions of people who can clearly visualize that little piece of eyewear. Yet, the Monopoly man has never, in the entire history of the game, worn a monocle. No monocle. Ever.
And then there's arguably the most famous example of all, from a galaxy far, far away. We all know the quote, right? Luke, I am your father. Well, actually, scratch that. If you go back and watch The Empire Strikes Back, the actual line is, "No, I am your father." He literally never says the name Luke in that sentence. These aren't just simple slips of the tongue. They are deep-seated, incredibly vivid recollections that feel 100% real.
Section 2. The Suspects. Glitches in the Matrix.
So what in the world is going on here? When we try to find the source of these shared inaccuracies, the theories kind of split in two directions. First, let's explore the slightly more mysterious sci-fi path. Some really popular theories suggest that these false memories are actually evidence of a literal glitch in the Matrix. Others think we might be accidentally sliding between parallel universes where alternate histories are playing out just slightly differently. And honestly, these cosmic narratives are incredibly seductive. They give us this imaginative, epic explanation for why our internal sense of reality feels so utterly at odds with the facts.
Section 3. The Culprit. The Science of Memory. Now, what's really interesting about this is it brings us right back down to Earth. Because while parallel universes are super fun to think about, the actual explanation is rooted in the complex, fascinating, and honestly kind of messy world of cognitive science.
So, we basically have these two diverging paths of explanation. On one side, we have the imaginative, sci-fi cosmic narrative. Pitted directly against that is cognitive science, which focuses entirely on memory reconstruction, suggestibility, and social reinforcement. Psychologists don't look at the Mandela Effect as some sort of glitch in time. Instead, they see it as a truly fascinating window into the psychological realities of how the human brain actually works. The absolute foundational rule you have to understand here is this. Memory is not a video recording. We don't just hit play on some objective, perfectly preserved tape of our past. That's just not how it works. Memory is a highly subjective, highly active, and reconstructive process.
Let's walk through how our brain actually pieces this together. In step 1, we try to access a memory, but the past is fragmented. We rarely have all the details. So, moving to step 2, our brain basically tries to be a helpful assistant by filling in those gaps, applying what we expect to be there along with external inputs. Finally, in step 3, we reconstruct the event. The result? We create a vividly real, but sometimes entirely false memory. The brain just patches together whatever it logically assumes should be there.
And this perfectly explains the whole Monopoly Man mystery. Think of it like a cultural equation. When we think of a character wearing a fancy top hat, our brains automatically pull from our cultural expectations. We naturally pair a top hat with a monocle because it just fits that classic recognizable archetype of a wealthy aristocrat. Our brain basically does the math for us, fills in the blank with a monocle, and boom, we've got a false memory that feels completely authentic.
Section 4. The accomplice, the internet feedback loop.
But you know, the human brain is only half the story here. To understand how these personal, isolated, cognitive glitches blow up into massive, global phenomena, we have to look at the ultimate accomplice, the digital age. Before the internet, if you misremembered a movie quote, that false memory pretty much just stayed within your small social circle. But today, an online forum or a viral social media post can spread that one misremembered detail to millions of people instantly. It is an unprecedented amplifier for human error.
And this brilliantly illustrates the vicious feedback loop that follows. First, a false detail gets suggested online. Second, it instantly reinforces the memory of everyone who happens to scroll past it, creating massive social reinforcement. By the time we hit the final step, the belief has become so incredibly widespread and deep-seated that when someone finally presents you with the actual, undeniable truth, it literally feels like you're being deceived.
Section 5. The verdict. The truth about our past. So the crucial point is this.
What does the Mandela Effect ultimately reveal about us? Well, whether you lean towards parallel realities or the fascinating flaws of the human mind, this phenomenon highlights just how profoundly malleable our sense of the past really is. When we look back, we aren't viewing a fixed, unchangeable landscape. Our memories are continually and subtly being reshaped by our expectations, our longings, and the stories we share with one another. It's a stark warning. We can never really take our own memories for granted. Because ultimately, the real enigma here isn't the individual fallibility of human memory. I mean, we all know we forget things or get details a little mixed up from time to time. That's just being human.
The true mystery is that we remember them wrong together. It's the absolute, unwavering conviction that we share in these collective illusions. The sheer power of social influence shapes what we believe to be true, brilliantly tying our individual false memories together into a completely shared alternate reality.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering thought to close out this explainer. If thousands of people can clearly remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 1980s or vividly picture a monocle that literally never existed, what else are you misremembering right now? Seriously, think about your most cherished memories. How much of it is exactly as it happened, and how much of it is just a story your brain helpfully reconstructed for you? Thanks so much for diving into the Mandela Effect with me today. Keep questioning your reality and never stop exploring.